Hey there, beautiful souls. Welcome back to Ever Revenge, where we unpack the tangled knots of love's wildest dances. Heartbreaks that sting like stilettos and redemptions that sweep you off your feet all over again. If you're a fresh face in this circle of storytellers and survivors, darling, you've arrived at the perfect chaos. These narratives are the therapy sessions you didn't know you craved. We're so damn close to blowing past that 1K subscriber threshold. And your energy. It's the confetti in the air. So, if this spark's already flickering in your chest, do us this solid. Hit that subscribe button with the force of a first date crush, crank those notifications to max, and let's shatter 1K like the glass ceilings we all deserve. Oh, and one heartfelt plea. Watch the full video. This tale's a sultry slow burn with a twist that'll leave you breathless, fists pumping, and maybe a little misty-eyed. No spoilers, but those emojis. They're just foreplay. Dim the lights, pour something strong, and let's sway into tonight's scorcher. At the party, my wife treated me like a stranger, until I walked out with someone else broken heart woman dancing flushed face fire. Feel the rhythm. Stories on. The jazz quartet's saxophone wailed low and sultry through the haze of cigar smoke and laughter, wrapping the rooftop lounge like a lover's breath on bare skin. It was the annual Harvest Gala at the Pinnacle, that glittering affair where Portland's elite traded business cards and secrets under strings of Edison bulbs swaying like fireflies drunk on nectar. I'd arrived early, nursing a bourbon neat at the mahogany bar, my reflection in the mirrored backsplash showing a man who'd aged into his lines. 34 now, with salt threading my temples and a jaw set against the evening's undercurrents. Clara and I had been married 7 years, a union forged in the fever of a summer storm. We'd met at a dive bar open mic in the Pearl District, me a budding novelist fumbling through a reading of my first short story, something raw about lost lighthouses and the ache of home. She was in the front row, 26 and electric, her platinum bob catching the neon glow, legs crossed in a red velvet slip dress that hugged her like a dare. When I finished a polite claps, she slid on stage uninvited, mic in hand, and riffed a spoken-word counterpoint. Your lighthouses flicker, but my waves crash harder, drown me or light the way. The crowd erupted, I was hooked. By last call, we were tangled in a booth, her fingers tracing the ink on my forearm. A quote from Neruda. I want to do with you what spring does with the cherry trees. Our first kiss tasted of whiskey and wonder. Her body arching into mine as thunder rolled outside. 6 months later, on that same stormy night, we eloped to the coast, barefoot on black sand beaches, vows shouted over crashing surf. You're my storm, she'd gasped, salt on her lashes as waves licked our ankles. And I'll chase every bolt. Those early days were a whirlwind etched in passion's palette. We'd wake in our loft apartment, exposed brick and skylights that painted mornings in golden shards, to her brewing espresso strong as her opinions, me sketching plot twists on napkins while she critiqued with that sharp, affectionate tongue. Afternoons blurred into collaborations. Her curating avant-garde exhibits at the local gallery, me weaving her inspirations into manuscripts. Heroes who mirrored her fire, heroines with her unyielding grace. Evenings. Pure alchemy. Tango in the living room, her hips grinding against mine to the pulse of Astor Piazzolla. Sweat-slick skin sliding under silk blouses unbuttoned just enough to tease. Intimacy was our ritual fire, nights where she'd straddle me on the velvet chaise, eyes locked like dueling flames, her breaths ragged as I mapped her with hands and mouth, slow circles that built to shattering crescendos, her cries echoing off the rafters. More, Theo, always more. Challenges tested us, of course. The sting of my agent's rejection letters, her battles with possessive patrons who saw her as muse, not master. But we'd collapse into bed, limbs entwined, her head on my chest, heartbeat sinking like a shared sonnet. We're the ink and the page, she'd murmur, fingers lacing mine. Loyalty was effortless then, a quiet current. Me skipping a book tour to stand beside her at openings, her defending my uncommercial drafts to doubting friends with a glare that could curdle cream. But time, that sly editor, had started slashing our drafts. My second novel flopped, critics calling it meandering, sales flatlining like a forgotten melody, plunging me into freelance editing gigs that chained me to a laptop in coffee-scented isolation. Clara's star ascended. Solo shows in New York, whispers of MoMA scouts, late nights schmoozing collectors who hung on her every word like it was foreplay. Our conversations shortened to logistics. Who's picking up dry cleaning? Did you eat? Her laughter now reserved for gallery toasts, mine buried in revisions. Resentment simmered, unspoken. My envy of her spotlight, her frustration with my shadow season moods. We'd make love less mechanical and muted. Her mind elsewhere as I thrust with a desperation that left us both hollow. It's a phase, she'd say, pecking my cheek before slipping into another gown for another event. I'd nod, but the distance yawned, a chasm where whispers used to bridge. The gala was her domain, a networking nexus disguised as revelry, black ties and cocktail dresses swirling under the city skyline's electric hum. I tagged along as arm candy, my tweed blazer feeling like a costume on a man who'd rather be lost in a library. We arrived hand in hand, her in emerald satin that plunged daringly low, diamonds at her throat winking like conspirators. Heads turned, she bloomed under it, releasing my arm to air-kiss curators and collectors, her voice a melodic lilt. Darling, you must see the installation, it's visceral. I lingered at the periphery, sipping bourbon that burned less than the scene unfolding. She treated me like a polite acquaintance, introductions as my husband Theo, delivered with a distracted smile, no inside glances, no brush of fingers that said mine. When a silver-haired patron monopolized her with tales of Basel acquisitions, I approached, hoping for a lifeline. Clara, the quartet's starting that Piazzolla piece She waved me off mid-laugh, eyes sparkling at him. Theo, honey, give us a moment. Reginald's insights are fascinating. The endearment landed like ash. Honey, not love. Strangers nodded sympathetically. I felt invisible, a ghost in my own marriage, the jazz mocking with its sultry swing. Rhythm that keeps us. Humiliation coiled in my gut, hot and insistent, as I retreated to the bar. That's when she appeared. Ilara, an old acquaintance from my writing circle, all curves and confidence in a crimson sheath that hugged like a second skin. We'd flirted harmlessly at readings years back, her poetry sharp as shattered glass, but life had diverged. Now her dark eyes lit with recognition. Theo Hale, the man who made shipwrecks romantic. We fell into easy rhythm, talk of her chapbook launch, my stalled novel, her laughter genuine, hand grazing my arm in that electric way Clara's once had. Bourbon loosened tongues. Stories flowed like the Willamette below. When the quartet struck up Libertango, fierce and feral, Ilara extended her hand. Dance with me. For old times poetry. I hesitated, glancing at Clara, still ensnared, her back to me, gesturing animatedly. The neglect crystallized. 7 years and tonight I was scenery. Why not? I said, voice steady as I took Ilara's palm, leading her to the floor. The music enveloped us, bodies sinking in a tango that burned. Her thigh sliding between mine, hips canting in perfect counterpoint, breaths mingling hot and close. She smelled of jasmine and ink, her gaze holding mine with a challenge that stirred embers long banked. Whispers from the crowd rippled, but I leaned in murmuring, "You've gotten bolder." Her lips curved inches from mine. "And you've got fire in your eyes again." Clara's laugh pierced the haze. I turned mid-spin, catching her stare, widened eyes, wineglass frozen mid-sip. Shock, then something sharper, possession laced with panic. But I didn't stop. The dance crested, our finale a dramatic dip. Ilara's back arched. My hand splayed possessively at her waist, applause thundering like judgment. I escorted Ilara to the edge, pulse thundering, the air thick with possibility. "Theo," Clara's voice sliced through. Heels clicking urgent as she materialized, cheeks flushed beneath the makeup. "What the hell? Who is she?" Ilara arched a brow, excusing herself with a knowing smile. "Catch you at the next reading?" Leaving us in the storm's eye. Clara's hand clamped my arm, nails biting. "You walk out with her. After we." Tears welled, smudging her liner, voice fracturing. "You were ignoring me. Chatting up Reginald like I wasn't there." I felt small. The confession hung raw as exposed nerve. I pulled her to a shadowed alcove, the city lights blurring below like fallen stars. Small. Clara, you erased me tonight. Introduced me like a footnote. Dismissed me for insights. 7 years, and I'm the stranger in your spotlight. Sobs shook her, hands fisting my lapels. I'm scared, Theo, of losing you to the quiet while I chase this. But seeing you with her, God, it gutted me. Like losing the only man who's ever seen me, not just my shine. The dam broke then, words cascading. My isolation in revisions, her terror of fading into domesticity, the drift we'd both fed with silences. I miss us, I admitted, thumb brushing her tear-streaked cheek, the emerald of her dress cool under my palm. The tango that set us ablaze. She nodded, pulling me closer, lips crashing into mine. Desperate, devouring, tasting of Merlot and regret. The kiss deepened in the alcove's hush, her body molding to mine. Hands sliding under my jacket to claw at my shirt, breaths hitching as tongues tangled in a frenzy of reclamation. We broke for air, foreheads pressed, her whisper fierce. Take me home. Show me I'm still your storm. The drive was a blur, her fingers laced with mine over the console, tension coiling like a spring. In our loft, doors barely shut before clothes scattered. Her gown pooling like spilled ink, my blazer shrugged off in haste. I lifted her against the wall, legs wrapping my waist, thrusts urgent and unyielding, her moans a litany against my neck. Yours, always yours. We tumbled to the rug, bodies slick and sinking, every peak a vow renewed. Slow grinds building to shattering release. Her name a chant on my lips until we collapsed, hearts hammering in unison, sweat-cooled skin a map of mended fractures. Morning filtered through skylights, soft as forgiveness. Over espresso and confessions, we charted new courses. Her blocking a weekend for a writing retreat, me guest curating her next show with prose interludes. Challenges loomed, her tours, my deadlines, but we danced through them. Weekly tangos with no audience but us, notes tucked in manuscripts. Chase me still. Ilara. A gracious text. Glad you found your bolt, sparking no more than a fond memory. At the next gala, Clara's arm looped mine possessively, introductions laced with pride. My husband, the lighthouse who guides me. As we swayed to the sax's wail, her breath warm on my ear. No strangers here. I knew. Love isn't spotlight or shadow. It's the dance where we both lead, both follow, forever entwined. Oh, loves. If that rooftop tango didn't twirl your heart into a frenzy and leave it spinning with hope, I need to check the playlist. Theo and Clara's night proves even the coldest estrangements can ignite the hottest homecomings. Strangers one dance away from soulmates. Endless gratitude for swaying through every step with me. Your full watch is the